thinking that there's something else. There's another fail safe switch. All right. All right, hey everybody, and welcome to Chiu Stream, where we talk about art and life as an artist. I'm your host, Bobby Chiu, and you caught the live stream, the live version of the stream. So you could go to slido.com, hashtag ChewStream, and then you can write in your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. Interactive style. It'll be great. So you could do that as well as watch a lovely little painting video. All right, so I also want to say a big shout out to Matt there, Matt Johnson. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Bobby. Hey, everybody.
Right on. Of course, Matt will be my co host for today, which is wonderful. Really,
Hmm.
always great to have you, Matt.
Always
Um,
great to be here.
and so, what do we want to talk about today? Oh, I remember what I wanted to talk about today. It was actually something from last week. I don't know if
Yeah.
you remember last week I was talking about change and creating long lasting change.
Hmm.
And through the conversation, we touched upon something where I was saying something like luck. I was talking about luck and generating luck. I I believe the conversation started with I was just like, a lot of people consider me lucky, and I would consider myself lucky as well. However, I have found that there are ways to generate a luck, and perhaps we would do that for another stream. Well, I figured that'd be today. What do you think,
I
Matt?
think I think that's awesome because I remember you kind of hinted at the fact that it's not entirely random the way these things happen for people like you, even though it might look like what we think of as luck. There's a little more to it, and I, for one, was really excited to hear more about it.
Great. Well, yeah, kind of like you throw a whole bunch of seeds in the air. If one of those seeds grows, that's kind of lucky. You didn't actually plant it, but we do this kind of stuff all the time where we throw a whole bunch of seeds into the air and then something comes out of it. So, okay, let's talk about luck here. And again, I have five little points that I want to focus on as being like the biggest determinants of how lucky you'll become. Okay, so first one, give more than you receive. This is kind of like, again, it aligns with that analogy of grabbing a whole bunch of seeds, toss them out there, and maybe one or two of them will grow, even though you tossed like 100, 1,000 out there. Um, oh, they're saying that your volume is really low, Matt. So I'm going to
Oh,
perhaps turn down my volume a little bit, and then hopefully your volume will match up to my volume.
thanks, folks.
Or maybe I just have a big mouth. So, anyways, give more than you receive. Why is this one important enough to list down here? Well, it's because of this. Um, that's been a huge thing throughout my whole entire career. When I started, nobody knew me. I couldn't get a job anywhere. I thought, I'll just start teaching people on the subways. And really, the very initial thought, Matt, was okay, first I need to gain some sort of a name for myself, some sort of like respect amongst the community. Well, you can gain respect by the stuff that you worked on, the stuff that you put out there, and perhaps if you teach, you gain a little bit of respect as well if you're teaching at a nice school or whatever. A lot of times you try to get some experience teaching in college. Well, you need experience to get experience. right? So what I ended up doing was I started teaching for free on the subways of Toronto to gain that experience, but also just to do something to gather the art community and do something fun together, right? So I started to post online and say, whoever wants to meet me on the subways of Toronto, I'm going to be there on this day, on this platform, at this time, and I'd be happy to teach you for free.
So this is like grassroots teaching. It's like
Exactly.
if a job isn't there, you're gonna get out there and find a way to do it anyway.
Exactly, because, if people like your art, well, it's for free. People will show up. You know how many people showed up that first year, Matt? Pretty much nobody. Pretty much nobody. Even though I was offering to teach people for free. But I
Mm-hmm.
would stay consistent. Of course, that's one of the big things that you want to keep putting stuff out there. You want to keep putting yourself out there. So I would say, Subway Sketch Group met up today. Here's the drawings I did from the Subway Sketch Group. And
Cool.
a lot of those times, the Subway Sketch Group was just me or me and my former roommate from college, Jesse Schmidt, or me and my wife, Kay Asadera. Um, and so giving back, right? Teaching anybody that would want to learn for free for 5 years. I did this every Sunday that I could. What did that do? All of a sudden, wow, I got really lucky. I was put onto the national newspaper in Canada, the I think it was the Globe and Mail, and then I was put onto the Chinese channel in Canada, uh, which
Like
was
they did
actually
stories. They did
they
stories
did
on
a
the Subway Sketch
story
Group.
and they followed me around and all that kind of stuff, right?
Uh huh.
Wow, that's really lucky, But at the same time, I put myself in that position where I could be lucky because I'm constantly giving more than I'm receiving, right? Um, other other examples of this because there's many different levels. So that's from grassroots level of starting from zero. Then there was okay, now I'm starting to do well, and I like to travel. So then all of a sudden I'm inviting my friends and very successful artists, very legendary artists to these different workshops. Uh, and I'm really just trying to give, 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 give. So, uh, okay, we'll take down everything that you like when you go on a trip. Do you like to go to museums? Do you like to go shopping? These kind of things. And we'll craft, a nice experience for you, trying to always give back. Um, and that's always been a huge thing for me. I rarely ever ask for anything. Really, really, rarely, rarely, rarely ask for anything. And if I do ask for anything, it's only so I can give that person a whole bunch more than they're
Mm,
asking for, right? So, in that respect, that's helped hugely throughout the years. Give more than you receive.
that's great advice.
Let's go on to the second one here. Be prepared for lucky things. Be prepared for lucky things. A lot of times, we are offered the whatever lucky thing, the lucky opportunity, before we're actually ready for it. A lot of
Mm,
times. You know, my our TV show, Nico and the Sword of Light, which I helped create with a couple college buddies of mine and Kay. We all created this show. What's the show about? Well, the show is it's about this 10-year-old boy named Nico, and he's supposed to grow up to become the savior of the world. However, uh, something happens, and he needs to do it right now. And isn't that a lot of times like what happens with life? We're preparing ourselves for this next step, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, the opportunity came now. And maybe sometimes you aren't ready for it, so then you turn it down. You're like, oh, I can't, not right now. And then who knows the potential of that, uh, what could have been. right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we say yeah, and then we struggle through it even though we weren't ready for it. We said yeah anyways, and then we get through it and we come out shining. And then all of a sudden you level up. So be prepared for lucky things. Was This is one thing I don't know if I talked about before, but I studied animation,
Mm-hmm.
animated stuff. When they approached me to work on Alice in Wonderland and said it was live action, did I know how to paint anything realistic at the time? Not really. I just said yes, and then I bought a bunch of Noman DVDs,
Huh.
and I also watched Sam Nielsen's course again, I believe, and through that I learned how to paint realistic, very quickly.
But do you feel you were not prepared for that opportunity in that way? Like, does that really, or was it just like, okay, I have to get prepared quick?
Well, the most important thing is that you're prepared for when you need to actually do the thing,
Right. Yeah.
right? So sometimes you're not prepared when the thing lands in your lap, but be prepared when you need to be prepared is kind of like the main gist of that point.
That makes sense.
All right, so next thing on here is be in places where luck can happen. You know
Okay.
how many times it was like I was at FMX, right? This awesome event that happens in Stuttgart, Germany. And I just happened to, uh, share a ride with with the chairman of the visual effects industry,
Wow.
right? And we're just sitting in the same car. Um, like if I wasn't at that event, I never would have met that person and all these other people uh, that I was very lucky to meet. And then all of a sudden, that person uh, introduces me to another person, and so on and so forth. This happens constantly. However, it's also because I travel constantly. I put myself out there constantly. I'm not just hanging out in my basement
Right.
trying to, work on my portfolio, which is what a lot of us do. You know who I'm talking about, you people out there listening in your dark, uh, you know, dim little rooms, painting away. Do that, yes, but have a nice balance. Also, make sure that you invest your time into going to places and talking to people where good things can happen. Uh, the biggest one for me was Comic Con in the very beginning of my career. Going to Comic Con, talking to everybody I could talk to, and then getting discovered. Not just by, you know, not just for the Tim Burton project for Alice in Wonderland, but we were discovered by multiple studios, right?
Mm.
So even if I wasn't that lucky that day, I still would have been introduced to at least like one or two.
Yeah, for sure. And being in those places is when you see what other artists are doing that's working, you get ideas, you get inspiration. Like going to those comic book conventions for me was like whenever I have my booth set up and everything, I'm like, "Oh man, look how that artist put their artwork on those racks over there." Like or even little tips and tricks like that you just don't find on the internet that only really happen when you're face to face with other artists like you.
Also, yeah, when you see people doing stuff in real time, then
Yeah.
you click into things a lot. And I wanted to kind of segue into this video. This video is special because it's in real time. I'm not speeding up anything. The pausing of just thinking and stuff like that, I'm not speeding that up either. This is not in a rush. It's really just doing my thing. And what I'm doing here is you can do the same thing. Set up a little still life and just start painting it, right? And you have like give yourself an hour at the most to do it. And that's what I'm doing here. So then you can paint along your own still life, put this on, uh, and kind of see where you're at compared to me. Now, again, I'm not trying to paint as fast as I can. I'm painting at a comfortable speed here. So you should be able to beat me if you really tried, I think. Um, Now, this is actually an assignment. I preach about learning and all this stuff. Well, I would be such a hypocrite if I didn't learn myself and I
Mm.
just, you know, flapped my gums and told everybody to learn, right? Well, I want to show you this is another assignment that I did from the Tonko House class, painting with light and color. And this one in particular, this one was an actual assignment that I did in Cody Gramstad's class. I registered as a different person. I registered under a pseudonym, so he only knew me as this person named Chris. And that way I could get true, good feedback. That's what I wanted. Uh, and that's what you're seeing here.
That's awesome.
Now, being in places where lucky things can happen, I was mentioning Comic Con. However, Comic Con can be kind of difficult uh, these days because there's just so many people. There's like over 100,000 people, probably close to 200,000 people. Uh, the other place that I would recommend, and this is a place, an event that I'm creating. You know where I'm going with this, but I'm
I
creating it
know.
for good things to happen, for lucky breaks to happen, and that is the Lightbox Expo. If you go to lightboxexpo.com, you will see over 300 freaking incredible artists that are coming. 270, 300 incredible artists that are coming. I forget, I haven't counted in a while, but it's really the who's who of the entire industries of gaming, uh, movies, animation, and illustration. This is where you go to meet all the big superstars behind your favorite things. So definitely check that out. Lightboxexpo.com. And let's go on to the next little point here. The next point here is speak up, right? If you want to generate luck, you can't just stay quiet. You can, but you know, the chances of you becoming lucky in whatever you're trying to pursue, it diminishes a lot, especially when you're independent. Like me, for example, you know, who's going to be my cheerleader? Especially in the
Mm.
beginning. Nobody. You know, a lot of us, we are shy when it comes to speaking or talking good about ourselves, you know, and so this is an important point to put up there, especially if you are shy about saying, you know, the things that you're proud of,
Mm.
right? So celebrate your victories by telling people, celebrate them, because there is no kind of refrigerator of life, and we could put on everything that we thought, you know, was a cool accomplishment and put it on this refrigerator. There is no refrigerator. We gotta speak up and say these things ourselves. Um, Last one. Oh, and the speaking up part. Amazing things can happen. Amazing things can happen when you gather a bunch of people and speak up as well, because everything gets magnified as well. So if you're part of a group or something like that, and you're trying to get your studio off the ground, perhaps y- you know, perhaps you're gonna make a little movement like mermaid, right? And gather the troops so that you can all speak up together and gain a lot more momentum with your hashtag. For me, I'm gonna gather the troops as well. I was talking about Lightbox Expo, and you know, like last week, I was saying how many of us know who designed Yoda, for example? Like hardly any of us. Hardly any of us, even when we're artists, would know who designed on, uh, you know, maybe the characters for Big Hero 6. I know who designed them, or one of the principal designers, but do
Mhm.
you, right? And so we want to educate the community, our community, the art community, in these things, but as well the general public. Now, the general public, that's going to be difficult, you know, because they're doing their thing, and it takes a lot more energy. And so on right now we're saying June 10th. Okay, June 10th. And I'll make the official announcement on social media and such. But we're saying that June 10th will be Lightbox Expo Day. This is when we will be posting all about Lightbox Expo. If you're speaking, if you are doing a
Mm-hmm.
demo, if you have a table, if you're going to be exhibiting, we're going to be encouraging everybody, even the attendees, to post on Lightbox Expo Day, June 10th, right? And we're all
See,
going to post at the same time.
wow, that's a great idea. That
Yeah,
gives that momentum and it gives that public like perception of something big happening all at once, right?
let's blanket social media once more. You know, we did this on March 6th and it was amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to this time it's going to be even bigger. June 10th. We're all going to be posting Lightbox Expo stuff, and if we all kind of yell at the same time, then the whole world will have no choice but to notice us and go, "Whoa, what's that? Oh, all these artists coming together. What? They worked on this, they worked on that. I want to go." And that's the point, right? If we all say everything at the same time, people will notice. All right, last little point. Last little point is be positive. Now, I put this in here as well because luck loves people that are positive. You know how many times it's like you see these maybe reality shows, this and that, and this person's having a hard life, but they keep positive and they keep trying to get their restaurant off the ground or whatever it might be. Eventually, they do. Somebody comes in and maybe invests or whatever it might be. But the ones that are positive, those are the ones where it's like that. I really connect with those people because
Mm.
there's so many things in my life where uh, if I wasn't positive, it never would have come to fruition. You know, schoolism never would have came to fruition. Uh, Digital painting class with Dice Tsutsumi and Robert Kondo, the assignment that I'm doing right now, wouldn't have come to fruition. All of these things. And that's because I kept positive. I didn't take no for an answer. I come back and ask again. Craig Mullins, I had to ask for over a decade to make a class. Over a decade. Since a lot of you were teenagers, perhaps. I'm already there asking him to make a class. So be positive because everything kind of changes when you're positive and you can attract so much more luck when you're a positive person. All right, so that's my little spiel for today. I hope everybody will take those things to heart, try them, believe in them, do them, and then you'll see that you will become a luckier person as well. Why don't we go on to some questions, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a few good ones here. If you guys haven't already, you can go over to Slido and search for Chew Stream and add yours, or upvote other people's questions if you see some questions that you like. Shell asks, "What do you think about listening to music or other audio while drawing? Do you do that, or do you think it's a good or a bad idea?"
I do that. I don't listen to music too much. I listen to audiobooks. I try to
Mm,
double it up. I try to listen to something educational while I'm painting and drawing. Sometimes it doesn't work for some people. I realize that some people they can't listen to anything while they draw. But if you can, hey, that's a really great, really fantastic way to double up your progress, right? Listen to a
mhm.
cool audiobook or a podcast. You can listen to these Chew streams on your podcast as well. Uh, and yeah, I totally believe in that. That's a really great way. And of course, music is good too. So whatever floats your boat. I don't listen to music while I draw and paint because I'm not learning anything extra.
Mm.
But it works for lots of people. So there you go.
Yeah, I can see music for like brainstorming time, maybe trying to get into certain moods, but then wanting to, like you said, kind of double up your time and listen to something fruitful while you're at it. It's very nice. Another question, Anonymous asks, there's a lot of talking about a balanced life, but is that really a thing for beginning artists?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I wonder
Mm-hmm.
that a lot. And, a lot of stuff that's being said over the internet or just being said in general, how to do things, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
it's all geared towards uh, the average. But we're not trying to be average.
Hmm.
You know that? There's a lot of times before I would be like, I would post on there, yeah, I'm just sleeping like 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day. When I was doing Alice in Wonderland, it was like 3 or 4 hours a day. And I'd catch up a bit on the weekends. It was very tough.
I
But I've
bet.
heard this story over and over and over again. And like I was saying, a lot of people, they might explain things about how to kind of do things for the average person, but we're not trying to be average here, Matt. We're
Not
trying
at
to be
all.
extraordinary. We're trying to hit like our absolute potential. So, is it important, to really push yourself and all that stuff and have kind of like a not so balanced life in the beginning? I want to say in like my heart of hearts, I would say yes. It's important that it is that you're pouring everything into it, right? Because like it's just the beginning. You don't even have a thing yet.
Right.
Like how are you going to divide up your time between seven different things and hope that this new thing is going to grow to become something awesome? You got to spend all your time on it as much as you can. And like real talk, real talk. Uh, Things can happen if you spend 8 hours a day on it. Sure. Things could happen if you spend 4 or 6 hours a day on it. You'll need a lot more luck, though.
Mm.
How to survive without that much luck, or perhaps how to generate luck, is do more work, spend more hours. Um, Everybody has a different way of doing things, and I am totally not saying that my way is the only way, but one of the best ways that you can become successful as an artist is, yeah, you're spending those hours, 16 hours, 18 hours on your stuff. Um,
Yeah,
I've done it.
definitely. I know when I was in my 20s, it was like wake up, paint, go to work, go home, start painting, drawing, whatever, until you can't stand it anymore and you go to sleep, you pass out. You do that forever, right? That's what you think you're going to do. But I was going to say, don't you think that's kind of like a little bit like when lawyers are in law school or like med students are in med school? Like when they're surgeons in their 50s or 40s, they're not going to be working the same way.
Yeah, you're right. Um, Even I still work very hardcore. It's a long weekend. It was a long weekend in Canada. I was in the studio every day. I didn't even have a weekend at all. But I'm not as hardcore as I was in college. College was the most hardcore because I would literally, every time I'd fall asleep, I'd set
Mm,
my alarm real quick for 3.5 hours later.
wow.
And I wouldn't let myself sleep past, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Um,
Wow.
so things are a lot better now. But at the same time, I work real hard. And when
Hmm.
people say, oh, yeah, I can't work as much because I have this other job, because I have kids, things like that. I absolutely understand that as well. Those kind of cases, you just got to be a lot smarter with your time,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And don't waste time in between stuff. Really don't. Like, don't even walk to the next task. Hustle, you know? You just fed the baby, now go and hustle to your desk,
Oh yeah.
right? And try to get that pen out as soon as you can, that pencil out as soon as you can. Start putting it to paper. So a lot of times we think we're starting to work, yet by from the time we sit down to the time we actually start drawing or painting, it's a good 10, 15 minutes gone by. And you can actually do quite a bit in 10 or 15 minutes as well. You
Yeah.
know, you put a few of those together in a day, and then you got yourself an hour or whatever.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm people on here might not know I'm a parent. I've got a 19-month-old son, and it really has streamlined that process that you're talking about, where you have to decide ahead of time what you're going to work on. Like when we were in the car on a road trip the other day, my wife was collecting reference materials on her phone for her paintings because she knows that when she walks into the studio, she doesn't need to start looking for something to reference. She needs to already have a pile of reference there because she might only get a half hour to paint. But it is possible. It just takes a lot more organization, like you said.
And for those of you out there that are listening to this going, okay, yeah, well, I don't have kids yet, or I don't have kids, I don't plan on having kids.
Mm-hmm.
Your your potential now, um, now that you listen to this, could be like through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Because what
Sure.
I started doing from when my friends started having kids and started telling me about all this and time management, I was like, holy smokes, okay, well, let me just pretend I got kids, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I run to each, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I go kind of like, I feel like I go too fast. So, when I'm talking to maybe my employees and such, that I come with this very rushed energy.
Mm.
So then I've had to dial it down. If I have to talk to other people, I would dial it down and go, hey, so how's your day? I don't, honestly, I love everybody I work with. I love them. I don't care that much about how
Yeah.
their day is doing. Unless there's something bad that's happening, then I'll care a lot, right? I'll be like, oh my gosh, that,
For sure.
activate. What do I need to do to help this person?
You're
That
not a
kind of thing.
monster. Right.
Yeah. But I have to consciously try to be less of a robot,
Mm.
if that makes
So,
sense.
and is it the same thing like with like boxers and gyms? Don't they do everything in 3-minute rounds so that their mind becomes conditioned to that rhythm that they would have in the ring? Is that a thing, or am I making that up?
I don't know. I'd love to act cool and tell you yes or whatever,
Yeah,
but I have no idea. I've never
from your
boxed
days back in
before.
the ring. Right.
We
Okay.
used to box. Me and my high school friends. There was only one mouth guard and two sets of boxing gloves,
Oh,
and we would flip for the mouth guard.
that's
And
hilarious.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. Let's ask another question here from Anonymous. It's similar, but do you have advice for balancing the job you do for regular income while working on a project you're not being paid for? I think that's a little different. So maybe you can talk about working on a passion project.
do you have any advice for balancing the job you do for regular income while
Hmm.
working on a project you're not being paid for? Yeah, definitely. I have my projects that I'm on that I'm getting paid for by another
Hmm.
studio. And then I got projects that I'm always doing um, with my studio where I don't necessarily have to do it. It's kind of like what this question is saying. You
Yeah.
you gotta schedule in time chunks to work on that stuff that you don't necessarily have to do.
Hmm.
And those time chunks cannot be tampered with. They cannot be infiltrated. You cannot replace them. At those times, you need to do those things. So be very conscious of how long that time chunk is going to be. 1 hour, 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. 2 hours is really stretching it.
Hmm.
Um, if you have the time, then for sure do that. Yeah, there you go. Put them in. Don't touch them. Everything revolves around these time chunks. Do not touch them. You have dinner plans, make sure that your dinner plans are revolved around these time chunks, because if you do start messing with them, before you know it, they're not taking it seriously and you stop doing it.
And that's why having smaller chunks is good, right? Because you can maintain the integrity of like a half hour or 45 minutes way better than 2 hours, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Makes
I
sense.
love it.
Let's see. CJ Rusoto asks, how would you handle multiple subjects to study? Per days or per times of the day? I'm strengthening my fundamentals on drawing and writing, gesture drawing. So, studying multiple subjects at a time, would you switch per day or per times of day? What do you think?
Um, well, first, caution, don't try to learn too many things all at the same time.
Mm,
Um, unless it's going well for you. Some people need to just concentrate on one thing and that's their focus. They can't shift focuses. I am not that kind of person. I like what Matt is saying, doing sprints, things like that. Um, my own kind of way of working is I'll have four different projects open on whatever programs, Photoshop generally, right? And I will go into these sprints, painting as fast as I can on this character. And then once I start slowing down, I go, okay, forget it. I still know perhaps where I'm going to go with it, but once I feel myself slowing down, I say, forget it, I'm going to put that down, go to my next project, open that up, right? Because they're all open anyways, they're just on different tabs. I click on the next tab, I look at that painting, I go, oh, okay, that's what I need to do to that painting to keep it going further, so on and so forth, and then keep switching. I'm always in this constant kind of mode of switching from one project to the other every time I feel like I'm slowing down. That's been really helpful, Matt, because a lot of times you take a little walk or whatever, you come back to your painting, you look at it with fresh eyes. Well, instead of taking a walk, I'm just working on a different painting,
huh.
right? And then I look at that other painting that I haven't seen for an hour and a half, and I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. I know exactly what the next three steps are. I start doing those. Once things start slowing down, then I go on to the next thing.
So it's, sometimes people think I need a break from painting, but maybe I just need to switch my brain around to think about another painting for a minute.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
interesting.
think. And that's how it is for me. A lot of the times, it's not like taking a break from painting in general. Sometimes it might be. But if you do this, then you'll find, yeah, most of the time it's not actually taking a break from painting. It's just taking a break from that painting.
Yeah, because it keeps you, it seems like you would be much more likely to come back to it, that you wouldn't leave painting as an activity overall if you just switching from painting to painting. But if I get up and go for a walk or go take a get a snack out of the fridge or something like that, I might not come back to it as easily.
Exactly.
Hmm, that's very interesting. Um, Another question here, maybe. Uh, Step one draw circle says, how much can you ask your significant other for you to sacrifice to achieve your goal, especially if you're a beginner that needs all of your time to practice? That's a good question.
Yeah, a lot of people can definitely relate to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So it really I would really think about your significant other and think about how that person is and what that person needs. Because you can't like totally neglect one just to do the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a balance there. I I definitely think about that a lot. Um, I'm very I'm very lucky to have in my life, a woman that also is an artist and loves to paint and draw and all that kind of stuff. Um, so it is a little bit easier. But I'm a very hardcore kind of person by nature. So I will, if I could, I would just almost live at the studio for like weeks. It doesn't really matter to me. Um, but yeah, when I sense like, okay, Kay needs some time to do something else, I'll do that. I don't ask her, I'll just kind of like feel it out. Because a lot of
Hmm.
times when you're so passionate about something, and then you ask your significant other, would it be okay if I, just did another 12 hours on this? They might just say, yeah, sure, but they totally don't mean that, right? So it's much more important to kind of read between the lines as well, not just what that significant other says.
That's very true. Yeah. Take your own inventory of the situation.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think that there's a lot to be said for communicating very openly about I need this and I want this in my career. I'm going to go try to learn this new thing. And if you're going to make that ask in my relationship anyway, you have to take the moment to say, what do you need? Like if I want to do this thing for a few hours a day, what where could I like make that sacrifice for your day and your goals? And it becomes a lot more of a partnership in that way. I think there's a lot of ways to handle it, but I think those are two very solid approaches.
Yeah, a lot of
And
times what
then
I'll do, Matt, is I'll be like, it's really early in the morning. Like this
uh,
weekend, I think like one of those days, I was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I got ready and everything. I'm ready by 7 o'clock, and I'm like, yeah, Saturday, you know.
yeah.
And then I'm thinking, oh, I really want to go to the studio. So then I would say to my significant other, hey, th- I was thinking of going to the studio. Call me up whenever you get up, and then what I'll do is I'll get some lunch, I'll bring it back, and I'll, get some lunch from this place or whatever, you know just
Cool.
like what you're saying, right? So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'll just keep sleeping, and when I get up, I'm just going to call you, and then you're going to bring lunch, and that'll be cool.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go to another question here. Let's see. Let's see. Did you consider approaching Marco Bucci to teach at Schoolism?
Well, first, I love Marco Bucci's stuff. I love his videos, especially. Such a
Mm-hmm.
good explainer of things. Um, I haven't approached him about teaching on schoolism, but I would love for him to teach on schoolism. There's just been a lot of irons in the fire these days, so it's it's just not something that has come up right
Mm-hmm.
now. Um, but I did ask Jamila Knopf to teach on schoolism, so there's a big announcement there. She's
What?
working on her class, and she's an incredible, incredible artist. If you haven't seen her stuff, definitely check it out. It's kind of mind blowing. So there you go.
There's a little announcement for us. Awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
if Marco wants to teach on schoolism, hey Marco, reach out. Let me know.
there you
We'll
go.
talk. Sorry, things have just been a little crazy. That's all.
You're only doing like 3 careers, 4 careers, 5 careers at once, Bobby. That's all. CJ Rue Soto asks again, can you break down more about drawing from life than from artists? Uh, I'm sorry, I misread that. Bobby, can you break down more about drawing from life, then from an artist, then your interpretation again? Like exactly what you should look for. I think you mentioned this, Bobby, a couple of weeks ago about drawing some, like kind of observing an artist and kind of transforming something into your own, like when you're using that Game of Thrones still. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, so, okay, well, art. Uh, art comes from different aspects of life in some way, somehow. Even if it's not something visual, it's something emotional, perhaps. Uh, Abstract art, for example. Abstract art is also uh, derived from life, perhaps
Mm-hmm.
our experiences more than things that are representational. Okay? So, anyways, first you go to the ultimate source, which is life itself. Get out there, paint, draw, go to the zoo, you know, that kind of thing. Go to life itself and draw life itself. Then study from photographs. And I would study from the same kind of subjects. So if you went to the zoo to draw monkeys, now study photographs of monkeys, right? Now you're studying a still uh, a still image of life, except this interpretation comes from a camera. So, uh, lighting, values, exposure, that kind of thing can be changed, can be manipulated. But this way, you can look into that photo and see very specific things and study them, stare at them, which you can't really do in life because things move a lot.
Hmm.
Um, then, unless you're studying a building or something like that, and then you go to a really good painting or really good paintings and drawings of that subject, right? So now you're going to somebody's amazing interpretation of life. And then finally, you want to be the creator of life, right? You want to create something out of your head. And so those are kind of like the four major food groups for learning something. First, you go to life itself and you learn aspects from the ultimate source, which is life itself, then going to a still image of life, then going to an amazing artist's interpretation of that aspect of life. Then you are the creator of life. And that's the idea.
That would make an awesome little Venn diagram. I feel that's really a good way to look at it. Um, Top question right now. What can a beginning artist do? Dominic asks, what can a beginning artist do to make income on the side with their art as a beginner? Hmm.
What can beginning artists do to make income on the side with their art? Um, I would put it out there, just like number
Mm-hmm.
5 or number 3, the third point or something.
Mm-hmm.
Speak up. The fourth point, right? Speak up. Tell people what you want to do. Open your whatever account to for commissions. You could put that in your status, that kind of thing. Um, but also, you could just try to be creative with it. You could look on the internet for DIY kind of stuff that you might be able to change the idea a bit until it's something original, and then you can make those things and sell those things. Um, I for my door to my room at the studio, it's a Alice in Wonderland doorknob, right, where you turn the guy's nose. Uh, that wasn't like a Disney thing. That was just something I got off of Etsy.
That's
So
cool.
yeah. Uh, One thing that somebody gave me when I was in Germany was this little statue of one of my paintings. I thought that was
Oh,
so cool.
huh.
Yeah, and like that's a really good way to market your stuff a lot of times. If it is a really good something, then that
Mm-hmm.
artist will most likely share it, or that person will most likely share it with their following, which is exactly what I did. I did that twice, so that could help market your stuff as well. Um, but in the beginning, not a lot of people are paying any attention to you. So it does take some time. You know, Things are not going to take off right away within a week, within a month, perhaps not even a year. Just be prepared. Be prepared because, it's the ones that stay with it that make it. And a lot of times, it can be the difference between an awesome, extraordinary life and a totally mediocre life.
Hmm.
Just because you stayed with it. There you go.
That's great. It's so true. Um, Kelly D from Virginia asks, "Hey Bobby and Matt, question for both of you. What was your favorite encounter talking to a stranger while out drawing in public?" Hmm. Oh man, that is good.
You
Lots
could
of
go
good
first.
ones. Oh man, I don't know about a specific weird moment or anything, but my favorite thing every single time is when little kids are interested in what I'm up to. All the way up to like teenagers. And I mean, I remember I was drawing at the bookstore recently and saw the art book section. And I saw this kid kind of roaming around in the art book section, and he was kind of like not sure what he was going to pick up. And he was looking at some of the how to draw books. And I went over to him and I was just like, "Hey, looking at the art books, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm drawing." Kind of showed what I was doing, and he was like, "Oh, cool." And I like kind of classic stuff like Andrew Loomis and those guys that are doing very classic like 19 mid 20th century advertising art and Norman Rockwell and that kind of stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, I just don't know what book to get." And I was like, "This one right here." And I showed him Figure Drawing for All It's Worth, I think is the name of it, by Andrew Loomis. And that is an amazing figure drawing book. And I was like, "Here, don't spend your money on anything else. Take this book home, fall in love with it, and you'll be very happy." And I think that's probably one of my most recent favorite moments with a artist in public. What about you, Bobby? Any ideas yet? I know you've got to have some good stories.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I can't really think of many. Drawing in public. It, most of the time nowadays, it's like at an event where there's a bunch of other artists around. Um, and
Yeah,
so, it's just nice to draw for somebody that really thinks so much of it, you know. That's really nice.
yeah.
It's really nice when artists or whoever comes back to me and shows me a drawing that I did for them years and years ago.
Oh wow.
That's been really nice, and seeing like some sort of maybe a little writing on there as well, some words of encouragement, things like that. And then they tell me their success story. That's my absolute favorite. So,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I guess that also counts because I remember drawing there for a little line of people, a sketch for each of them or whatever, and then one person came to me and was like, I was watching your YouTube videos when I was a teenager, like 13 years old kind of thing, and now I'm a art director at Blizzard. And I was like, oh my
Oh my
God,
goodness.
that is so awesome. I haven't heard that kind of thing before that incident. I've heard like, oh, I've been watching your stuff since college and stuff like that. Now it's like high school. Later on, it'll be like, who knows? I hope
Jeez.
not like preschool or something. But it'll probably be, you know what it'll probably be, Matt? It'll be, Bobby, you know, uh, man, I wish my mom was here because she's a big fan of yours.
Oh,
Right? It'll
whoa,
be like
that's
one of
gonna
those kind of
happen.
things. Yeah.
That's gonna happen one day. Like I remember watching these videos with my mom when she was learning from school as well. That would be
Right?
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that day.
That's so cool. What a great question, Kelly. Thank you. Uh, Bradley asks, "What do you think about reading stories to help build a visual library of creative solutions for concepting? Do you read yourself, Bobby, for ideas or for leisure?"
Reading stories.
Mm-hmm.
Do I read myself? I'm not sure I totally understand that
Oh,
one.
I think he's just asking if you read fiction as part of
Oh, do you read yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
Bobby?
Bad
For
inflection maybe
ideas
on my
or
part.
leisure? I read a lot, but mostly it's nonfiction.
Yeah.
But as well, that includes a lot of like biographies and things like that. I love reading really cool biographies. Um, yeah, it does help, right? Like,
Mhm.
I remember reading a few, yeah, especially biography books. They conjure up a lot of visual kind of imagery in my head. Um,
Mhm.
but in general, yeah, I read educational nonfiction books. So.
You think do you think it still can be a good exercise though, like if you're reading fiction and you take in what these characters look like and then make your own exercise out of interpreting those characters on paper for yourself to say, I don't know what this big crazy monster in this Stephen King book looks like other than what he described, but now I can maybe try to like interpret that myself. I think that's a good exercise.
Yeah, it could be very inspirational. I could definitely see that as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's not like you shouldn't read, creative fictional books and things like that. to help your creative solutions for making
Mm,
concepts. However, I don't think it helps that much, just
yeah.
because um, solutions, it's a visual thing. We're painters and drawers, so if you're looking at stuff, I feel like it would help even more than reading things. Now, a lot of
Mm,
people might disagree, but it's also the way that you look at stuff, right? Like you look at a bunch of cranes and everything, uh, in the San Francisco area, and then you all of a sudden you think of AT-ATs or AT-ATs or whatever people call them
mm-hmm.
in Star Wars. And that was the inspiration, is looking at a bunch of cranes, these big crane kind of things. Um, so it's also about looking at stuff with an open mind of what it could be.
That's really true because you can take anything that you're interested in that way, and like taking frames from movies and stuff like that, and say that's a creative solution visually for how to make this guy look scary, and you can break that down a lot easier than just an interpretation from a story, like I was talking about. That makes sense. Let's see. That's a good question, Bradley. Thank you. Anonymous says, "Hey Bobby, I can't wait to attend the Lightbox Expo. Yay! Do you know when the new Craig Mullins class will be out? I'm already enjoying the current one. Really enjoying the current one.
Sweet.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a very good class."
So can't wait to attend Lightbox Expo. Me too. That's gonna be awesome. Lightboxexpo.com. Check it out. You're doing yourself a favor, and tell your friends because you're doing them a favor as well. This is the ultimate gathering of artists in the gaming, movies, illustration, and animation industries. When will the new Craig Mullins class be out? Yes, we are working on a new Craig Mullins class right now. Um, I would say it'll be out next month. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm
Cool.
hoping. There is no solid deadline just yet. We just want to make sure that, like, we're taking our time to do the class justice.
There's so much detail that goes into those, like highlighting little things that the artist is talking about and making sure it's really clear and easy to understand. So, you know, it's going to be awesome. The first one was.
Oh, the first one, it was amazing. It was amazing what it did for the art community as well. It's just like
Mm.
I had little chat groups with all these like high level artists, and we're all talking about his class. What lesson are you on? What lesson are you on? What about this part? Did it make sense when he was talking about this? What'd you think of that? It was nuts. And by the way, I I know everybody on Schoolism was gonna be like, how come you didn't mention the spring sale? So I'm gonna mention the spring sale,
Mm.
okay? Usually it's super cheap to, have an entire year of education on Schoolism. You can do like the self-learning, watch the lessons, do the assignments, do the homework and everything, and you can have access to all of the classes with one subscription. Okay, usually that's approximately $300 for an entire year. Right now, you get $100 off. Okay, so slightly less than $200 for an entire year of Schoolism subscriptions. That means you access every single class. Okay, and there's less than 2 weeks left for this sale. So get on it because when it ends on June 3rd, it ends and you missed out. So
You missed
get
out.
on the sale, tell your friends, tell your mama, tell everybody. Get on it. All right.
Sounds good. All right. Let's see. Another question here. Um, Mia Maria, do you consider yourself an entertainer as well as an artist? Maybe since you're on YouTube, an entertainer as well as an artist?
Hmm. I I don't cuz I don't think I'm entertaining enough. But I do feel like trying to entertain is an important part about being an artist and being an educator. You know, it's not about just giving the right information, but hopefully doing it in an entertaining way so people are engaged, because that can be very difficult, especially for people that haven't been in school for a long time, things like that.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go back to a student kind of mentality.
Yeah, I think that a lot of your content on YouTube is really well suited for getting the information while it's still fun. Like your little characters with their flowers on their heads. Do you have a name for those little guys that I'm forgetting right now?
Little plant people.
Little plant people.
It's
Yeah,
pretty literal.
like yeah, pretty literal, but perfect. It's adorable. So I think those are half entertainment, half education. So in that way, those are pretty fun to watch.
Awesome. Well, time flies when we're
Oh
having
wow, it
fun.
does
So why don't we
already.
go to like one last question?
Sure. Okay. Let's see. Oh man, we got someone here. Here's another good one. Anonymous. How do you know that you're improving?
Oh,
That's
uh,
it.
yeah. Well, shoot. You look at your old stuff compared to your new stuff. If it's hard to tell if you're improving, then you probably are not improving very much.
Hmm.
Which goes back to the spring sale on schoolism.com. Get it, do the assignments, and then you will feel yourself improving. If you are not improving still, then it means you're not doing the homework.
That's
Do it
true.
again and do it with effort. Not just like going to the gym, or it's exactly like going to the gym. Just going to the gym is not going to get you fit. Lifting some weights are not going to get you fit. You got to do it with effort. You got to push the boundaries. You got to push your boundaries of learning as well, of art, that kind of thing. That's what's going to move the needle. But if you're taking classes as well, that is like hardcore, healthy uh, stimulation for the brain. Like it's like healthy steroids for your mind, for your artistic mind, and build up those muscles. Uh, if anybody feels stagnant, take the spring sale. And if you want to do the same class as me, start it off with the course with Daisatumi Robert Kondo, Painting with Light and Color. That's the one I took for this exact painting that you see there. It was a very, very helpful class. And, if you follow along in the video, I did everything that you see in less than an hour. You could follow along with me. And that seems to be the end of today's little broadcast. So
All
thank you
right.
so much to everybody that joined in, and especially to you, Matt. Thanks for hanging out and doing the
Yeah.
stream with me as always.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me ask some questions with everybody today. It's awesome.
Lightboxexpo.com. Check it out. Less than 4 months left. About closing to like 3 months left. Can't wait to see everybody there. Lightboxexpo.com and the Schoolism Spring Sale only happens. Schoolism sales only happens once or twice in a year, so get on that. And see you guys next time. Now, a huge part of the success of this channel and everything that I do is because of you, the listener, so thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and then press the notification button, because that way you'll get instant notification the next time I put out a new video. Thank you very much.